My grandfather, the first time he ever saw a white person, he and my uncle were walking or just out hunting, and they were at a riverbed and they went to get some water and saw these sort of strange looking men sitting on strange looking animals. They'd seen tracks and the animals were horses, and they'd seen tracks while they were out hunting but didn't know what they were. And they'd heard rumours from other tribes and stuff about white people but had never ever laid eyes on them. And I think there were about four men who came, and they rounded up my uncle and my grandpop, who tried to run, but they got sort of roped back, and they just tried giving them jams and damper and bread and stuff like that, which my uncle loved because he was still only a kid, but my grandfather was really wary about it. He didn't want to touch anything of it. His experiences with white people weren't all that great. Later on in his life, he survived the constant massacres, which Officer Murray, he came through with a group of men or station owners and just wiped out whatever Aboriginal people they came across because of the murder of a dingo trapper. A white dingo trapper was murdered, and they just went through and killed everybody they could see.
There were more people. There were a lot of Aboriginal people until it was invaded. A lot of the Aboriginal people and a lot of the cultures, a lot of the people of the land was all wiped out.
It was the last recorded massacre in Australia. He survived. His story was that they had come through his camp and wiped out everybody who was there. There were about 3 of them out hunting, and when they came back, everybody was dead. And they buried them traditionally. The people, my grandfather, his newborn son was buried in the dirt and had his head kicked off. And all the women had been raped, and all the children had been hacked to death or just really badly beaten. And then so they buried them traditionally, and then went on to tell other people of the danger, but they just kept coming across bodies and more bodies and more bodies, and in the end there were so many bodies and so many, they had to sing, they just couldn't sing anymore and couldn't do traditional burial rites anymore, and just started piling people on top of each other and then just throwing rocks on top of them. So those people have never been sort of sent on to dreaming properly. But that was my grandpa's experiences with white people. He never trusted them after that.
In 1877, when the German missionaries founded the Aboriginal people in this western area, they named a place west of here called Hermannsburg. They made their people learn many things. They became Lutherans for their religion. They taught the Aboriginal people for how to wear clothing, learn how to make their own shoes or leatherwork.
They made missionaries, and they put people like in Yuendamu and Papunya and stuff like that. They dragged all these different tribes in, and they ended up having this big war. And the outcomes of that is 25 years later, is all these Aboriginal kids with 5 different languages and backgrounds. And
it's disputed whether it's between 300 to 500 different languages pre-contact, and I think in the last 200 years that those languages have come down to about 200 languages left now, and they're going fast. All of those languages are going very, very fast.
You can't do that, but the government has. shown in history. That's what they've done before. And it's a bit, bit crazy, but it's like the simple rule of divide and conquer. Just put them all into one bin, let them kill themselves, and pick up the pieces afterwards.
A lot of the people that was taken away, they're brought up by white people. And because they're brought up by white people, they don't mix in with the local people. They think they up here, higher here, Aboriginal people. They sort of look down for cultural Aboriginal people.
I think most Australians still look down on Aboriginal people. I still think that they look at us on the lowest rung of society.
If you have both cultures together, it will work better.
We can't even balance it. Get the balance right.
We should be together, village.
We should be together level.
Working together.
Not them up, sitting up here and we down the bottom here.
Yeah.
Gotta be level. Balance.
Their law, our law.
Our law and their laws gotta be recognized. Our law too.
Aboriginal people then had the right to go wherever they want without having to tell a police officer, I'm just going down the road, or without having to get permission from somebody to go and visit your uncle in the next town or whatever. So in the last 40, 50 years, we've had the freedom to behave however, like any other Australian.
Well, we learned a lot. We got education. We got work. What we learned of white fellas was to communicate with one another. The biggest thing is just communication. If you don't have communication, you're stuck.
This is a photograph of Albert Namatjira and his family in the early 1950s. Now, those people were able to care for themselves. They didn't have any welfare or anything like that in those days. But they're all well dressed. Look at that.
You've got to let Aboriginal people run their community. You've got to give them the jobs. Don't send in the white person to run the school, the clinic, the police. Give them a chance.
Then in 1973, when the Labor government came into power, they gave Aboriginal people back their land.
It was a really hard struggle, to get this land right back.
Hermannsburg mission was divided into 5 blocks. My dad was given this land, which he is leasing for 99 years.
When someone come from other place, they get a permit from council, land council.
I think the permit system is a fantastic idea. It allows Aboriginal people control over who comes into their land and what they are allowed to do on that land.
It's wrong what that government doing now. It's taking away a lot of things that a lot of our old people fought for years and years and years, and it's taken them a couple of weeks to take it away.
I heard about news about they said no permits. get all the permits and just people can just come in, just like that. Like horses come in. We want to keep our country clear with permits. We need to keep these permits really strong. Yes.
If you take away the permit system from the communities, Aboriginal communities, you give an access to people that goes in with drugs and what do you call them, pedophiles or something. They give an access for them people to go in to do all these things. That's the wrong thing. That fellow talking about taking away permit.
If you take away the permits, you're taking away this land as well. We had a meeting with the government, but we talked about it. We asked him, well, what you going to do if you lease our country for 5 years? What's going to happen with the permit? That's going to be taken away as well. That's wrong.
The people, the army.
Yeah.
We didn't have many army people, but what they should have done was, I don't think the army should have been involved.
No meeting, no nothing.
Go straight
Just go straight in.
They should have done it in a manner where they didn't frighten anyone, because there are people still hiding.
All the white people, especially the government, they don't realize we are the rightful owner of this country. We was here before they.
Oh, the army's coming in, they're going to steal our children and take them away again like they did in the early days. So I think it was not a very good idea.
I reckon that's silly. Military going into the community to check on kids, frighten everyone. It's silly.
We will be having them here today.
I have no idea why the military's involved either. I personally think that the whole reason why the government has come into all those communities is to take back our land. They've found so much uranium in Central Australia that suddenly all this land that was worth nothing, 20 years ago, has become extremely valuable. There's so many uranium deposits, just in this area alone, that suddenly there's money involved, and the government's come back in, we'll take back your land.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crappy. I mean, they've taken their rights away, so what rights do Aboriginal people have now?
Government's been doing lots of wrong things back in the past, and it's still happening today.
They live in Canberra. Of course they don't bloody care. Sorry.
That's what the government's going to do, take away the permits, and
biggest worry with them.
that'll be the biggest worry for our people.
Not to take away our land. We want to have freedom. We want to look at this, feel that. Fresh air. We don't have smoke. We don't want a big city near our, because it is really going to take away our natural habitats here. We don't want any more heavy machineries or traffic coming and going. So we just want to leave our land natural.
They should learn to respect Aboriginal people.
Well, number one, they could learn how to take care of the land. They could, it's. I don't really know. There's a hell of a lot they could learn from a people who've managed to survive on a continent for over 60,000 years. It's just extreme arrogance to think that they could come from a country that is mostly green to a country that is mostly brown and think they know how to live here, or think they know how to make it work.
And how to survive. I mean, everybody knows how to survive in the modern times now, but in our cultural ways, when visitors come to our land, I think they should really heed to what people are saying to them.
I don't think they don't learn our culture. We're not even communicating with each other, you know. We'll be here and we'll be fighting for our rights till everything.
This is our country, this is our home.
I mean, you've got to look at, who you're talking to, who's actually listening, and then work out from there, if the message is actually going to sink in their head, or is it just going to go straight through one ear and out the other.
Our culture is really strong and, it's been here for a long time. But government changes law every year.
And have a strong voice, someone speaking. Someone with meaning, someone with fucking heart that actually could say that, get the message across, Be proud of Aboriginal people. Be proud of what you are.
Do a tour of nature and see what Aboriginal people, we don't go and just kill whatever we want to kill just for the fun of it. We see them as beauty to our land, and we would like to see the non-Indigenous people do the same.
Communities are communities, If something happens out there, it's just all shut down, As with city life, everything's like run clockwork, Everyone's looking at the time and wondering where they're going to be and how they're going to be, and planning this and planning that. Back in the community, mate, you don't have no plan. Because you're there, you are the plan,
You're struggling to live in Alice Springs, in the town, You're struggling here. At Bush, you got your own community, you got your own land, you got your own country, you go hunting.
Alice Springs in itself, the whole town, the whole feel of the town has changed. When I was a child, I knew every second person I passed. And I knew them by name, and I knew who their families were, and that was regardless of whether they were white, Italian, Chinese, Korean. And I had friends that were all sorts of nationalities, but they were friends, and their family were friends, so we knew them. And now you're lucky to meet somebody that you know maybe in a day.
In the cities you have more racial problems and people being neglected, like children.
I think Aboriginal people need to be proud of who they are, and they need to work, and they need to get up and they stand up for themselves and their community, and actually be a part, be counted for who they are in their community. Do something now instead of waiting for later.
The biggest thing in that is you got to have education to get there. You got to do something to be what you want to be.
People are living out on the communities, and their education level maybe is at, by the time they leave school, maybe is at a grade 3, grade 4 standard, which is hardly anything in Australia. That's nothing, and yet they have to deal with mining companies, they have to deal with lawyers, they have to deal with so many professionals.
You want to keep them there in that one little corner, and you're not going to educate them anymore because, God forbid, where are they going to go? To town? And they'll be back next week anyway.
good and the bad.
Yeah.
The bad was just the alcohol. But yeah, that's the one that's really killing Aboriginal people. I'm not too sure what the good part is about it. I'll have to think about that.
No, they just get the money and then they go and straight and squander it if you give them their, which they do every fortnight. They get all of the money that's allotted to them, and within 24 hours it's all spent. It's all gone.
Aboriginal people never had alcohol in our lives before non-Indigenous people came. So we don't, most Aboriginal people don't understand the concept of having a social drink. You know, which is like, okay, we'll have maybe 2 cans tonight before we go to bed, or we'll have a glass of wine.
Taken take out the kerosene or whatever.
Kerosene, yes, that's this product from the petrol sniffing, kerosene.
That's pretty bad that.
Maybe they should have thought of doing something like this by looking at the abuse of sniffing.
Well, things like domestic violence and drug misuse and alcohol misuse, they're all introduced. They're all introduced from white men, and they came in. Aboriginal people have only been allowed to drink in the open, or have the freedom to drink, in the last, 40 years, 50 years? And that's 50 years for people to learn how to drink socially. It's just ridiculous.
People are sort of looking after the people now just to get alcohol, you know, or attend ceremonies just to have a drink in that. So.
But then most Australians don't know how to drink socially. Most Australians are pissheads. And majority of people in the Northern Territory, regardless of whether you're black or white, are certified alcoholics. They are.
Young people laying out on the streets. I don't think we have that problem in Alice Springs area.
If the community try it and stop the alcohol flowing in and other trucks.
The young people are just getting their money and using it by getting drunk. Sniffing petrol and other things, yes, it hasn't improved.
They should have more work opportunities, and better education. Education and work is together, where the families can manage. They won't have this problem.
It's really hard to do that, keeping family together and with the tradition together. Because, like I said, this alcohol and drugs and all that,
Well, there are always people who will go and sneak the alcohol into the communities and get money for it. Those people usually don't belong to the community, but they come into the community and they are there to make some money. So the only way to get rid of it is to get rid of those people, but who is going to do it? Now our government is trying by saying that they can't, well, I don't exactly know what they are saying, but they're not handing out this money all the time anymore.
In the same way that, I know myself, there's been a lot of times I'll turn around and go, am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
There's a lot of times when I'll turn around and go, I hate white people, I hate them. And which is unfair. My dad was white and I loved him dearly.
I look at things and say, well, you start off small. Start small and then you work your way up.
Teach our young kids about hunting skills. Other languages need to be spoken. Making spears, making boomerangs, making shields. You know, all those things doesn't happen anymore.
It's all up here in your head as knowledge, but whether you want to tell it, talk it, teach it, or not. If not, you can just sit on it and die with it. There's a lot of people doing that now.
You know, traditionally, there were so many laws in place that Aboriginal law traditionally was very strict. It was a very hard law and it was very strict, and if any of those laws were broken, you didn't just get a tap on the wrist, you were disciplined according to the severity of what you'd done.
That's just Aboriginal culture. That's the way it is.
So much of Aboriginal traditional law has broken down. So many of our old people are dying at an alarming rate. Our mortality rates are 20 years less than the average Australian. Aboriginal men die in their 40s. That's our life expectancy, 40 years old.
There's a whole range of problems, you know. There's education, there's living standards, there's general health.
Yeah, like if I'm working here and a young Aboriginal guy comes in, well, by our cultural law I can't sort of see that young bloke because he probably has some issues that an Aboriginal male will only understand.
You know, in Central Australia we always have these payback clashes where someone's killed somebody who belongs to this family, and then so that family has now come back to do payback, but even that's not done right anymore. Traditionally, payback meant that the family member who had hurt their family member, they would meet. You know, both of those families would meet, and then it would be discussed as to who in that family would take the payback. But now, what they do is a whole group of people will get into a car and go over to someone else's house and completely smash that house up and injure that person or end up killing that person. And they call it payback, but it's not. It's not traditional law.
Our young people going away and leaving, and because modern times are setting in more, there's like people don't have much time to sit and share their stories because the young people are going away.
So I think the future of conservation for our languages and our customs and our laws comes down to video. It comes down to radio. It all comes down to things that are technological now.
By the time they come back, that person's old and forgetful. So we are here to try and to keep our dreaming going very strong. If we lose that, our children would know nothing to carry on with. So I think it's a very important part of our life.
Well, it's better to conserve some of it than none of it.
The culture is like our spirit to keep people lives and think old people, long time ago, might be old people. We're thinking about old great grandfather. That's one culture is reminding us
Dreaming, it's hard to explain dreaming without sort of really knowing, because dreaming isn't in the past. Dreaming is, it's part of creation, but it's also now, and it's also tomorrow. Dreaming is part of the physical world, and it's part of the spiritual world. And each person has their own dreaming journey, and their own dreaming is life.
Dreaming is our culture, like showing us culture too, you know. Just like our spirit, you know. Old people's spirit, like showing us, like keep on going on. Keep the culture.
There are Dreamtime stories. We don't talk about it, only with men talk about it, because it's very strong in our beliefs.
No, I just know from my family, life doesn't end in death. You know, just because you die, it doesn't mean that life's over. You just move on to the dreaming, or you move into the next phase of life, which becomes a spiritual phase. You're no longer a physical body, you're a spiritual body. And then you wait there until you're reborn back into your family.
Art is a good way, and sitting down and telling the young people about what a dream time is, because mostly when you do your art, it is out of your dream time stories.
Every clan or every tribe has a particular part of that story. So one story will start, say, maybe in the top end, like the Seven Sisters Dreaming, which travels all across Australia, will maybe start in the top end, and they have their story and their part of the story. Then the tribe next to them will have the second part of the story. And it just keeps going until the story's completed. But not everybody has the entire story. Like one tribe wouldn't have the whole story.
In communities, different areas, you have different ways of doing your art.
To me, art means it's like you drawing areas of your country where you belong, and what symbols, what dreamings you have. That is your dreaming, the art.
Our art is really, really special to us. Means not. It's this one, this ground. You look at everywhere you look, that's how. It's us. Mountains, the trees, water, animals, sand,
Earth,
everything is
stars, moon.
every which way you see, it's
Sun.
always there. It's got a meaning.
Traditionally, most of our paintings were done on rocks with ochres, or they were done on the ground for ceremonial purposes. But the introduction of artworks that are on canvas and stuff didn't happen until the 1970s.
Don't forget the dot painting was only introduced about 30 years ago by a bloke called Clifford Possum. Clifford Possum bought the dot painting to bring in the colours of the land.
Well, I think before dot paintings come, Albert Namiger used watercolor. He more or less painted Central Australia to show the world what it's like. Dot painting just come along recently. It's for the tourist who's buying it, because the artist that's doing the dot paintings from the land, everyone knows about it. Everyone knows what dreaming it is.
I think tourism has turned Aboriginal people into whores in a lot of ways. And I know it sounds really harsh, but it's like when you have an artist who is selling their paintings for $50 so that they can make a quick dollar to either feed their family or buy a drink. There is something seriously wrong with that industry. That artist will sell it for $50. They'll only be offered $50 for that painting, and yet that painting will then go over to Europe or America and sell for thousands of dollars.
They buy everything, and they try and buy famous artists and stuff like that. But the sad thing about it is you might get one or two Aboriginal people that are getting paid good money to do their art. The rest of it, it's a really bad game. These guys are getting a raw deal. I mean, you might be having artists who sell their paintings, and then all of a sudden they sell it again, and then that price has doubled and tripled, and the painting's worth $250,000. Do you think the artist is going to get that? No, they'll go to the galleries.
They're all rushing to go and have a look at which ones they can get, but they're not really looking at how would I say it, the real paintings that people put their heart and soul into.
Once you're doing a painting on an art, a dot painting of your dreaming, you're more or less selling your culture. Eh? Once it's sold, it's gone.
Whoever buys it, they take it away, and then they can remember and always cherish what that person told them.
Aboriginal art's just another excuse of, it's like the real estate, you buy land, everyone gets into it, then all of a sudden, let's buy a painting, let's buy a few paintings, let's hold them, let's sit on them, let's turn them into investments, wait till they profit, wait till they double their money,
A share in the profit, and I don't mean like $5 out of a dollar, no, 5 cents out of a dollar. I mean that the artist at least gets a 50 share out of it, because that's the problem at the moment with the Aboriginal art industry, is that while Aboriginal artworks are being sold for huge amount of monies, the artists themselves barely see any of it. They're still living in squalor.
It's the name of the artist, really. There's good art out there. I mean, what do you call good art?
A lot of artworks, I notice now, are just being told. People will take someone else's story and tell someone else's story now without actually consulting that person.
If I bought an Aboriginal painting, I'd be happy to give it to an Aboriginal person, the money. I wouldn't buy it from a gallery.
I think art in itself is a way for Aboriginal people to make money. By an Aboriginal person doing that painting, they're already protecting that story.
But your story, you're selling it to the tourists or whatever, whoever.
Still there.
It's still here today. Money just goes in your pocket and comes out another.
I was working in cattle state. And after that, I was clever watching doing painting, I didn't use one of these colors. This one. I use this color.
Friends would come in, my artist friends. Well, this is Jeffrey,
Okay.
and there are his paintings.
Oh,
underneath
that's right.
there.
Yeah, she spoke very highly of your paintings.
And I found a prize on that.
Did you?
Yes.
Is that? What was
And
actually?
that's a really good wholesale prize. Here it is. Yes, I didn't see it, but this young lady saw it. She said it's on there,
Oh, is that the price?
and I didn't know,
Oh,
but it would have to be.
sure.
Because it's you know, it's close to what I said, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
Mm. But poor old Jeffrey, I've had to give him some money to go and get himself some lunch.
Well, I've got cookies.
That's for you to go and get yourself some lunch, Jeffrey.
Well, let's see.
My friend here has just arrived in Alice Springs. She's only been here about a year. She knows Alice Springs. She keeps coming back because she had a gallery in New South Wales. So her name, I'll introduce you to her, is Eleanor.
I think the tourists are great. They really want to. I think they humbug too much, which means they ask too many questions. But at least the intention's good. I think a lot of Indigenous people get annoyed because too many questions. She's been in my gallery in Sydney. She was probably thinking the same thing.
Yes.
And they asked me about the Clifford possum that went for $2.5 million.
It's been rolled up for too long. Oh, Penny. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, you silly.
He's in a playful mood. Oh, what does he want? Oh, he's excited.
Very exciting.
This one is stone net.
Oh, yeah.
Stone net. Das Boomerang. Das Bier. Number 7 boomerang and the treatment is killed.
Very handy to have Jeffrey here. I don't know which is which, but it would be wise to have the other Clifford possum now.
Clifford possum.
That's Clifford's writing.
Big, isn't it?
Oh.
What are these?
Quite
Jeffrey?
interesting.
These things.
This one is
I like that one.
Yeah.
this one is pretty treatment.
Parental dreaming.
Yeah,
So they're the
I
parental
don't.
prints, yeah.
pretty treatment.
That's interesting.
Is
What's
it?
going on there?
And what are these eggs? Are they
Parental.
This pretty trip, you know, with tail.
Is this from the lizard?
Yeah, this lizard. Yeah, lizard, and this pretty trick.
See, nobody knows I've got these. Oh, Jeffrey's the only Aboriginal man that knows I've got them.
If you ever want to help me
Yeah.
draw crowds to my gallery, I could have used this painting last week.